What a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go. Hey, good morning, Seaside. Hey, this morning's message is about how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you approach life with a sense of happiness, you're going to find happiness moving all the way through your life. As you approach life with a sense of deep connectedness, that deep connectedness is going to show up throughout your life. But something that Leo Buscaglia said, remember him, the love doctor, he said, most of us remain strangers to ourselves, hiding who we are and then asking others. Hey, who am I? Yeah. Go around asking for that kind of approval from individuals to validate who I am. That's not the approach. Your whole being is just waiting for your homecoming. When you come home from that sense of separation from yourself, you'll discover within the heart and soul of your being like a beautiful table spread with linen and fine china and the candles lit and the flowers on the table saying, it's about time you discovered who you were. I have been waiting for you because this world, I got to tell you, this world is crying. It is crying for your uniqueness. This world is crying for radical resources that you have in your soul, in your being. It is calling out for the bold grace to come upon us because we have been playing it safe for too long, and our safe choices have led us to an unsafe time. That's right. Just keep doing it the same way. And doing it the same way is not what's going to get you through. I saw a fly the other day trying to make it through the glass door. I guess fly season is upon us. And I heard this death sound, basically what it was. This fly was working his little wings off trying to get through that glass door. And do you know, as hard as that fly was trying, he didn't make it. No, I mean, it's kind of sad. He was committing his life to perseverance and pushing through. His belief system, I think, was... try harder. And it doesn't matter how hard he tried, he's not going to make it through. But I'll tell you what, the other door is open. You know, about 10 seconds of fly time, and he could have gone right through into that other room. All he had to do was change his perspective. But the challenge is sometimes when we start trying harder, we get engaged, and he committed himself to death by trying it the same way. How often in our life do we keep pushing and pushing, trying to do it the same way, forgetting that we have been given this infinite creativity that is seeking it through us, and how we do anything is how we do everything. If what we keep doing it is the same way right here, that's how we're going to do the greater pictures in our life. It is essential to remember that we're connected. Still have your puzzle piece, or have you lost it by now? It's in my pocket, so come on, get out. I still got mine. You know, and I just keep trying. I got to remember, I am connected to a larger picture here. I am connected. Every time I see this, it reminds me to be feeling the connection with that greater source because I am connected and there's something greater. You know, Rollo May, remember him, the great psychologist? He said that when we do not listen to our original ideas, when we do not listen to our being, we betray ourselves. But also, we betray our community. Because we fail to contribute our gift to the whole. So if you're not doing it, you're blowing it for me too. So I inflict a little guilt on you, except we don't do that here in religious science. But when you fail to listen to that voice inside of you, you're failing to contribute to the whole. You know, that wonderful song about serve, you know, it's serve. I'm here to serve, sweet Lord. I'm here to do it with you, God. Let me know. Sweet Spirit, I am ready to step up. But you know what happens so often? We just continue to try. We continue to try. How we do anything is how we do everything. And if we just keep pushing with that perseverance, trying to get through that block that doesn't change, and thinking this is our safety, doing what it is we know. It's like our safety comes in the harbor of other people's opinions. They think I'm doing it okay, even if I'm not making it through. They're saying, keep at it, and it's not working, and I haven't turned around. But yet, I feel a sense of security in this harbor, the opinions of others. it's not really safety. The only protection that we will ever know comes from our genius. From our genius. An absolute genius comes in our absolute heart, comes in our absolute soul. And if you're digging down and finding the creativity that is in your belly, if you're looking for the creativity that is in the fire of your soul, the only way you can do it is to look inside of yourself, not over your shoulder for the preference of others to win their blessings on it. You've got to listen to the genius in the smallest of things, how you do anything. If I bring forth that creative genius, but I can't do it, I'm blocked, snap. Remember that one? Still got your rubber band? Man, I got a welt still. You can just remember that you cannot serve statistics and inspiration. That's pretty good. I like that one. Came with that last one. You can't serve statistics and inspiration. You've got to listen to the inside of your soul and your spirit. I walk my dog, Sage, every morning, and he loves chasing rabbits. I mean, he couldn't catch a rabbit if his life depended on it, but he loves chasing these rabbits, and I think they just wait there to tease him every morning. Hey, try to catch me, old man. But, and he takes off, lickety-split. He chases them until they're gone. But really what throws him is when there's two rabbits. And they get up and they split. And it's like, he doesn't go anywhere. It's like he's confused. You can't chase two things. You can't serve statistics and inspiration. You can't follow those two kind of things in the same way. You've got to listen to that something that is in your heart and your soul that is there. I love the story of the guy. You guys are probably familiar with the story of the guy who wanted to create movies. And he took the tram ride at Universal. You got to immerse yourself in the environment. And as soon as he could, he took off from the tram and sneaked off into the lots, looking for an empty office. He found an empty office, and he put his name on the office directory, and he started making friends with the guys on either side of him and the people in the building. He got close to this one film editor who reviewed his film that he created when he was a teenager, thought he had some talent, and introduced him to a director who gave Steven Spielberg his first shot at the movies. You talk about a belief. Being radically resourceful with your creativity that is outside of the box. Even if it's early on, I doubt you can get away from a tram now and find an empty building. Probably because of what he did. But how you do anything, if you believe, even when it appears that it cannot be done. That you can go beyond, which is what this year is about, is assisting us to go beyond, and it's through your consciousness, the law of attraction. When the Angels won the World Series a few years ago, it was unbelievable. It was like nobody could beat the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, and they were up against the California Angels, the dwellers of the dungeons forever. And they were in the 7th game of the World Series. And there was this young guy, Scott Spezio, who had the game of his life. And when he came up for the crucial bat, the announcer shared an interesting story that Scott had shared with him prior to the game, which was when he was a little boy practicing baseball with his father would throw pitches at him, and his father would say, imagine that it is the 7th game of the World Series and you hit the winning run. And so what came up for him was that memory of his father pitching to that little boy the winning ball, making those great catches, because his mind was already there. Even in the most infinitesimal practice stages, as you do anything, is how you do everything. And when you're put in that big time, when you're put there for the big bat, you've already been there. You already know. You already know. You're prepared. And if you prepare in your life, connecting with Source, if you take the time in the morning before you leave the house to connect with Source and Spirit, then when you go out in life, whether you're doing your work, whether you're starting your car, whether you're driving down the road, what you are bringing, because you've already been there, is that sense of conscious connection with Source. The Spirit goes before you, makes the crooked way straight, is what we're told in the Bible. If you spend the time coming to know the presence of God everywhere, then it shows up everywhere in your life. There are no places where God is not. And so when the challenge presents itself, you know it as an illusion. You know it as a non-power. Because to experience healing in our life, we've got to move beyond the concept of two powers, God and something else, God and your problems, God and your challenges. God, you've got to overcome this problem. And all of a sudden, as I try to get a human condition to be replaced by another condition, if I try to get the condition of sickness to be replaced by, another human condition of health, I'm still dealing with two powers. If I'm trying to get the condition of my pain replaced by the condition of wholeness, I'm still working on calling forth a God power to overcome the human condition that is here. I'm still dealing in two powers. If I can remember that God is omnipotent, the only power, the essence, I can move beyond the illusionariness of the form that is before me. But I've got to do my work before I leave the house in the morning, so everywhere I go, I bring forth that sense of connectedness. There is not good and evil, that this good can overcome the evil. Because if you believe in good and bad, you've got two. That's called duality. There are two powers. And in the absolute spiritual sense, in the mystical place, there's only one. And if you ever want to return to the Garden of Eden, you have to rise above good and evil, this and that, to recognizing that there is only spirit and nothing else. In spite of whatever may be there, to be able to sit there and embrace the silence and know that the God expression is coming forth here. If you can do this in the small things, you can then begin to do it in what appears to be bigger and more difficult. Not that there's large or small in the mind of God, but in our perception, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you're abandoning it with the small stuff, how for a moment do you think you can apply it to the biggies in your life? There was a guy coming home from work. He's going by the baseball field. The kids were playing Little League. And he just, it's fun to watch the kids play Little League baseball games. So he pulled over. The game had already started. He got behind the first base line. He asked one of the Little Leaguers what the score was. The little kid said, "Well, we're behind 14-0. Big grin on his face, just smiling about it. The guy said, "My, you sure don't seem discouraged to be so far behind." And the little guy said, "Discouraged? Why would I be discouraged? We haven't been up yet." Talk about being connected to that absolute level. Not seeing the problem. There's only one power here that is flowing, that is moving, that is happening in our life. And so when we're not quite yet there, it is not time to give up, but nor is it time to keep banging our head against the same thing that we've been doing, trying to fly out because I'm trying harder. It is time to get in touch with that radical resourcefulness of your being, the bold grace of God that is seeking expression, and to let it out. When you're getting close, I've so often seen people give up when they're close, when they're almost there, because they just can't see what's at the end of the trail they're hiking on. I got to tell you, when we moved into this new place, it took 4 years from November when we bought the place to the November 4 years later before we moved in. And there were a lot of points along the way where, hey, we could have sold it. We had people think maybe we shouldn't even buy it to start with. Now that we bought it, how can we fund it? We don't have any money. We had to deal with the permitting, the zoning. It's like all these things just makes the head spin. But you know what? There was a vision that saw us already there. And we continued to practice every step of the way, the small pieces, not getting caught up by the big piece. For we brought forth the presence of God, the belief, and the picture of that image already there. It didn't matter we were 14 behind. Maybe 1.4 million, but when we bought the place next door, we're not there yet, but we have this vision to beautify and unify these two properties, to make it one fabulous spiritual campus. We have 20 students from around the country right now meeting up at the back house in our school of ministry, and we've got like the sewage coming out from underneath the ground. That's not okay. I apologize profusely. We're called help. But, we've got our kids at the Wisdom School up front. We see ourselves with these fabulous adult classrooms. We see these beautiful campuses with more parking. That is just a beautiful place that when one enters this campus, they're able to feel that presence. And what is essential is that we feel it now with what it is we're doing. If you do it anywhere, you can do it everywhere. So we're practicing now, not getting caught up that how many years away or how much it's going to cost, but you hold on to that vision and you know with the fullness of your being that which is possible. And it happens. And it happens. I mean, any of you that have been involved with healing work or prayer, you've done your prayers, you get to that point that Ernest Holmes calls release. Where all of a sudden your prayers, you let it go. You ever done that in your treatment work? It's just, it's done. It's okay. It's happened. So that's a powerful place to be. And I think all the healing comes to a point where we get to a place where it's just, we let go and we know. It's okay. It's in God's hands. Truthfully, the only hands it could ever have been in, but I have finally let go of my struggle. And the healing looks different than maybe I had planned. But there's a sense of okayness around it. There was this young lady, Linda Burstish, and she was 28 years old. She was a fabulous school teacher, very busy in her life. She knew that if she had more time, she would do art and would be more creative. Well, at the age of 28, she started to have these headaches. She went in, the doctors found out that she had this massive tumor on her brain. They told her that if they did an operation, there was less than a 2% chance that she would survive. So rather than rushing into the operation, she chose to do her creativity work, which she had not done. And so for the next 6 months, she drew, she did her art, she did her poetry. And everything she wrote except for one was sold. All the art that she sketched hung in nice galleries, and they all sold, but like one of them. And finally, after 6 months, when she decided to go in for the operation, the night before she went in, she created a living will that said, if I don't make it through, please donate any of my body parts to anyone that they may be more beneficial than to me. Regretfully, she didn't come through the operation. And they went ahead and donated her organs. And there was this one young man who received her eyes. He lived in South Carolina. He was 28 years old, the same age. And he was just, all of a sudden, he went from the darkness to the light. He could see again. His world was made new. He was filled with such gratitude. He called the eye bank and thanked them and said, is there any way I could thank this young lady's parents? And they set it up so they got permission. And he went out to the house and he knocked on the door. And the people opened the door, Linda's parents, and he told them their story and his appreciation. They just hugged him and they loved him. They said, if you're not going anywhere, we'd love for you to stay here tonight. And as he did, he looked in Linda's room and saw that she liked the things that he liked, that she would read Plato and he would read Plato in Braille, that she read Hegel and he would read Hegel in Braille, and just a deep connection. And then the next morning, the mom was looking at him and said, you look so familiar. I know I have seen you somewhere before. She said, I got it. And she ran upstairs and she grabbed the last picture her daughter had sketched, a picture of her ideal man. And this picture was identical to this 28-year-old. And I want to share with you the last poem she wrote from her hospital bed. Two hearts passing in the night, falling in love, but never able to gain each other's sight. The Spirit of the Lord is upon us. At least that's what Jesus said in Luke chapter 4. The Spirit of the Lord is upon us. But if we're the ones that make a difference, then what is imperative is that we remember to take the time each day to connect with that Spirit. Before you leave the house, before you do anything, if you can remember to bring to life. Because you know what? You have that silver cord that is connected to a golden force. A golden force that will allow you to see to the interior territory of your being an infinite sense of wholeness in the spite of whatever is there, not because it is overcoming anything, but because the omnipotence of God, the only power of God that is there, allows you to see who you truly are in all situations, irrespective of anyone or anything. There is a magic that is there. Each of us is magical in who we are, in what it is that we are. And each of us is just precious in our ability to experience that magnitude, that lyrical destiny that path of epiphanies. That's something. God is seeking to bring into our world that is right and relevant. If we don't give up too soon, and if we stop trying to push our way through the way that is not working, and know that even what is going on in my life right here is an opportunity to remember my connectedness, the presence of God is going to show up in a way that I may not recognize, but is there. There was this young girl, this is many years ago, the story comes from, whose parents had died, and she lived with her grandmother. And she would sleep on the second story of her house, and the grandma would sleep on the downstairs of the house. And one night, the house caught a fire, and it was ablaze, and the grandmother went upstairs to try to save her granddaughter and was consumed by the blaze and didn't make it. The people gathered around the house, and as they looked around the house, they saw the little girl standing at the window crying as the flames were just consuming the house behind her, just as the crowd heard that the firemen had been delayed by another 5 minutes. And in the blackness of the night, they don't know where he came from, a man came forth with a ladder and put it up onto the house. He climbed up into the second-story window, disappeared, and he came out through the flames with this little girl just wrapped around his neck and handed this little girl, down to other people. And as they, took care of this little girl and looked around to thank the man, he was gone. They didn't know where he had come from and who he was. And over the next several weeks, a month, they tried to find some living relatives of this little girl. And they couldn't find any. So they had a town hall meeting in this town to see what they would do. And this one school teacher stood up and said, I'm a school teacher, and I would be happy to take her. I can give her a good education. And then a farmer stood up and said, you know what, I'm a farmer. I can show her the way of the farm. It's a healthy lifestyle. It's a good way to be raised. And a couple other people stood up. Finally, the wealthiest man of the town stood up and said, I can give her all those things, in addition to that, to wealth, so she doesn't have to worry anymore. And this little girl never picked up her head and looked or paid any attention to anybody making these offerings. And the chairman of that gathering says, is there anybody else? And from the back of the hall, this man stepped forward that nobody had seen before. And he walked forward, and they could just see the pain in his gait as he came to the front. And as he reached his hands out to that little girl, the crowd just gasped. They saw his arms just burned or scarred from burns. And the little girl picked up her head, and she looked at that guy and said, he's the one who saved me. And he leaped into her arms, wrapped her arms around his shoulders and neck, and looked him in the eyes and said, this is the man who saved me that night. And the chairman that day said, meeting adjourned. If we can truly believe out of who knows where, we will be, I don't want to say saved, but that Spirit will show up, and it may look like some gnarly looking arms that are there. But you know what? There is a universal intelligence that is whispering its wishes. Whispering the wishes into our soul for us to honor and to hear. These wishes are not to be second-guessed or diluted, but rather it is to assist us to find ourselves. They are there to lead you to you. And as it leads you to you, it is not through the regular way in which you have tried before. It is not through the practical, the acceptable, or even the unpenetratable thought, but rather to burst that curve, to have the breakthroughs, to have the shift in consciousness to the revolution or the revelation. It has to be something new. And as you are willing to bring the newness to where you are, as you do anything, is how you do everything. There is every moment moves you more into the unpredictable, but yet closer to your sacred abilities. Every step is a commitment to your soul, your sacred soul, honoring of its recognition and its expression. And so if you can just stand in who you are, with everything you do, with that invincible heart, with that visionary mind, your world will be different. But I want you to know, not only will your world be different, ours will be different also. I thank you for that difference that you are making by listening to who you are. God bless us as we do. So I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward as we do take our gift from our heart. Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Hey, I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts. And then afterwards, take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.